Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream with myself of Many Purple Hats and Hamish McLay of Search and Convey. Today's special guest is Andreou. No, I've got it right or wrong. Oh, fantastic.
Perfect.
Of Assessment Hive. And we'll come to him in a second. But first of all, as usual, mercilessly throwing Hamish McLay straight under the bus. Hamish, what are we on about today?
Well, in part, largely, we're speaking about conveyancing. It's sort of something that both Andrew and I contribute to, and we're really trying to get through this particular sort of aspect of, is the conveyancing conundrum solvable or fixable? Because there are so many disparities within the minds of people as to what should be happening. Never mind the poor soul that's buying or selling a house. Now, very, very interesting position I happen to be in. As chairman of IPSA. However, within that operation, long before I became a board member, never mind chairman, Andrew and I had bumped into each other because we were interacting with each other, working on providing searches, local authority searches. So that's when we first met, before Andrew became Assessment Hive. And there were certain challenges at that particular period of time relative to what was going on with conveyancing, but it's an absolute complete muddle now. And that unfortunately, whilst it's a process, that's all it is. It's a process. There are so many bodies trying to leap in to saying they do this, they do that. So there isn't a nice straightforward process. And unfortunately, people be discussing the whole thing cannot figure it out. But the other aspect worth mentioning too, we'll bring this in because of what Andrew is able to do with Assessment Hive. He does so much more than just work on local authority searches. In fact, if almost anything, it's a very small part of what he does. It's what he does to support people within conveyancing, within what people do with buying and selling properties as well. So he's got probably a wider knowledge than I have of all of these differences that are sort of coming into the conveyancing. So which is why it makes him a particularly good guest when we're trying to speak. Is there anything we can do to sort of make it easier?
Andrew, welcome. Before we get into it, I just have to do a shameless plug. Every 10 o'clock on Thursday, Hamish and I run something called Property Quorum, where we talk about the ins and outs of the property market. We usually have 4 experts. Yesterday, we had 6 on. It was quite madness. But before we get into that, what in tarnation is Assessment Hive, Andrew? And of course, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Big thanks for Hamish for inviting me today. So, before we go into it, let's go on about what I'll discuss Assessment Hive, what it is. So, Assessment Hive initially we set up. I've always been in the local authority search industry. I've been in it for quite a while, and from the days where nothing was digital through to today, where parts of it is. So, I've seen the transition. But Assessment Hive, we do a lot more. So we also do energy assessments. So from just the conveyancing point of view, or the point of sale, we're probably in doing the energy assessment before the property is even put on the market. So we get to, the good side of that is you get to speak to the sellers as to what they're going to expect, what's happened already. And in essence, we do sometimes speak to buyers as well. So we're in the process from the beginning, and sometimes we even get the local authority search for the property. We've done the energy performance certificates. It's quite good to see. So we'll deal with that later.
All right, cool. Now, with regards to the current question, is the current tangled web, the mess, the absolute bloody chaos, is it actually soluble? And dare I say it, rubbing this together with yesterday's question, which is all to do with the incoherence at number 10, does it look like it's going to be soluble anytime soon?
That's a lovely question. That's true. Let's answer both. So, do I think it's solvable? Yes. I think any problem, if you hold your hands up, admit there's a problem, look for a solution.
All therapists say the first time where you can solve a problem is by admitting you have one.
Yeah. That if you're going to say, no, we haven't got a problem, then yes, you're not going to solve it. But I think any problem's solvable as long as everybody's willing to chip in, help solve it. Do I think it's going to be anytime soon? Well, looking at the government, central government, there is no service that they offer, and this is the NHS, the TfL, so the roads, the local authorities, anything they offer that's working well. I can't think of any of them, and especially the NHS. So there's nothing there to suggest or any evidence to show that it will solve anytime soon. But yes, I do think it's solvable.
All right. Well, so the good news is there's probably a solution. The bad news is there's no willingness for anyone to apply one right now. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think. There's so many opinions out there, but that's how I see it at the moment.
This show is driven on a mixture of hot air and opinions, so that's fine. You go for it.
Yeah, there's the Law Society. I think could do a lot more, and I think central government can. So I think they're the two bodies where it will come from. I'm similar to Hamish. We really do care about the consumer. I think the consumer needs to be put first, and these two bodies need to join together. I think the Land Registry is part of central government, so they need to all join together and think, how are we going to solve it? Let's look at it from the buyer's point of view, the consumer. How are we going to make it go faster? And in an age where most businesses, your daily life is now technology can help, it should be instant.
Well, it's worse than that, isn't it? Because the trouble is we've made it instant and then we put ads in between everything. No, yep. I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't think there's a lack of willingness for it to be faster. I think the problem is people want to exploit all the gap that's in between.
Yeah, they certainly do. I'm not sure if you remember you were part of the Home Information Pack era.
I remember it only too painfully.
In theory, it's a good idea. In practice, it wasn't. And the issue is that what we found with it seems it didn't make the conveyancing process any faster.
Yeah.
And there was so much misinformation out there. Some of the home information packs weren't worth the money they were written on. And that is everybody's fault. It's not just one particular body. We could always blame the end user. We want it cheaper. But you can look at it from the provider's point of view. Why did you provide it cheaper? Why did you provide a pack that wasn't good enough, wasn't worth the paper it's written on? I
come from a database background from a long time ago, just after the earth cooled, and the old expression then was crap in, crap out. And crap home information packs mean that you get crap information, therefore you make a crap decision.
Yep. There does need to be a lot more information up front for the buyer, and there does need to be a system in place where everybody that's part of the house buying process, such as the broker, the lender, the solicitors, are all part of it. They can all see it all on the same page, and we can move. We've got the systems. We can definitely develop it. We've got the brain power in this, especially in the UK. We have some of the most intelligent people in the world.
I just have to say, we've suddenly had a complete surge on my Twitter account of loads of people watching us. So hello to everybody on Twitter.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Hamish, for goodness sake, give me some light at the end of the tunnel and make sure it's not an oncoming train.
Well, the thing is, the light's already been given by what Andrew said. Unfortunately, at the moment, what they don't realise has been a tunnel fall, and there's a bloody great obstruction in the middle of the tunnel. And sadly, what we do have, anything to do with government departments, they decided that they'd improve the probate department, another government department. They decided they'd improve that significantly by throwing in all this data into it.
Hamish, whenever I hear that the government departments improved in large inverted commas, it fills me full of fear and worry.
Well, having failed miserably with that, in fact, I don't know which came first, whether it was deciding to actually switch land charges over to local government as well. The unfortunate thing is, when you're transferring data, and this is one of the big challenges, I mean, Andrew and I know this sort of too well, is that data correct? Can you rely on it? And you don't know, because there are so many errors at the moment with some of these initial transfers. Sadly, they don't know within land registry whether it's correct or not. They haven't got a clue, because then they don't compile the information. They don't know what's missing. So they don't know whether it's right, wrong, or sorry. And unfortunately, they're looking at it to solve it a little bit too simple, because people do have to get involved. The law did, and Andrew went through just about the whole team who need to be conversing to get this to actually sort of meet in the middle. Otherwise, you get your channel tunnel, which
absolutely.
So
it's a communication issue once again.
Yes.
So what do we do? What do we do to stimulate them talking to each other, for goodness sake?
That's the problem. They're not inviting the right people to speak to each other to resolve the situation. Because, as Andrew said, if you involve each of those individuals that we speak of, who are all involved, they each have their part to play. They're all part of the whole presentation, the whole thing sort of that's going on stage, if you like. And you can't actually proceed if you've only got 3/4 of your actors present when you're putting a performance on. And this is almost what's happening.
Andrew, if we have a new government of a more ruddy red complexion, will that improve any of this? Do you think there's any willingness there to improve both communication and data quality?
No.
All right. Well, it's very nice to have you, Andrew.
Yes, I'll explain why. And again, I will. Whether it's Labour, Conservative, for me, it won't. There's no evidence in place that anything will change. I've not seen anybody within government do or try or at least get involved as to how they're going to change it. Like Hamish said, spot on. They don't speak to the right people, and I can't see any difference. What we really need, I mean, I've got some solutions that could help, but bear in mind, government, they're paid. The ministers are paid to do this. They're paid to think of these solutions, not us. We're not qualified in that. We can give our opinions and certainly throw out there what we think could get better, but they're qualified in it. It's what they're paid to do, so they do need to step up. And I don't believe that any change of government will make a difference, but they just need to step up, speak to the right people, and sort this nonsense out. Because we should be ahead of the world now, and we're not.
Well, no, we should be dragging behind. And as far as, I mean, forgive me if I've got this wrong, but from my perception in recent years, the powers that be that are supposed to be thinking up these clever solutions, a trained monkey, could have done as good a job.
Yeah, we could have done nothing.
Better job.
We could have done nothing. I mean, my opinion on the conveyancing, just my recommendation is to have one person take in charge. You can only have one captain of a ship. Have one person take in charge. Look at every single data holder, not gatherer, holder. So you've got the local authorities, you've got central government, land registry, you've got law society. Have a look at the current system, who holds the data, and how can we improve it get as much information at the start, get everybody connected on the same system, and get this moving for the consumer. And in essence, we'll learn, as a country, we'll learn more from the property market.
One of my many Facebook viewers has given you a big hand clap. I assume that's a good thing.
Hopefully, or unless it's like that, then it's not.
No, it was definitely a thumbs up.
But look at, if we spoke with Hamish. Sorry to interrupt, but we spoke the other day. The conveyancing process is archaic. It's old. It's a very old system, and the local authority search, which me and Hamish have seen enough during our time. I mean, it was updated in 2016. It's not consumer friendly. It's absolutely awful.
I heard the word clunky being used.
Yeah, I've asked, and I know this because I've asked a lot of friends who are not in the conveyancing industry, not in the property industry. They don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to them. It's all over the place. So it needs to be completely changed, revamped, made it more consumer friendly. You've got about 7 questions just based on planning, have one question. All the planning is in there. All the building control is there. What is it? Have an explanation. Building control is this. If it's not listed there, this is what it could be, and just full explanations to the buyer to understand it. Not the way it is now. It's just not good enough.
I could say, tongue in cheek, what you're expecting the buyer to understand it as well?
Yeah, not the buyer, not the person buying the property.
All right, Hamish, I leave it upon your broad shoulders to take us home.
Well, there's no easy route. However, I think we come back to it. If you work with the right sort of people, the challenge is to get all the right people to meet up. But the great thing is there are some significant experts out there who, first of all, they aren't asked for their opinion anyway. They just get on and do it. They just get on with the resolve. And I think what sort of Andrew was sort of intimating here, we can't rely on the government to sort something out that they don't understand. When we look at the number of ministers that have been involved with housing over the last 14 years, I think we'll actually sort of find that there's been more than 14 of them. If there weren't more than that, it's pretty darn close. What can they learn? What can they do? Unfortunately, does their team of sat behind them, who are actually sort of, if you like, are civil servants. I mean, how civil are they? How knowledgeable are they? We've got that challenge to actually put up with on the government sort of side of things. Then we've got so many different sort of factions fighting against each other, saying, "Oh, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right." And unless you actually meet up, as we sort of said, there's very little point in having a channel tunnel that misses from each direction. And this is unfortunately what's going on now. But there are so many clever people out there; they just all need to get together rather than one at a time.
It only remains for me to say thank you very much to Hamish McLay of Search Convey and our special guest today, Andreou of Assessment Hive. As ever, we try and point out not just the bad stuff, we try and look for silver linings too. And I think the one thing I can take from today's discussion is if the guys would bash their heads together and come to a single solution to support everybody, it would save time, money, and even make the whole process smoother. Dare I say it, Hamish, quicker. Until next week, I wish everyone listening a wonderful weekend and, of course, great mental health. Goodbye from me.